Welcome back to another edition of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Steve Balistrieri, Mike Diabate, Derek Havens, your host as always. We are here after the Week 10 performance of the Patriots on the road, defeating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa, 28-23. Great football game. We're going to dive right into that right now. Before we do anything, as always, Steve, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I promise I will not play the grand piano behind me. So,
Hey, you
but
could.
things are looking good for this team. I think people have to
Absolutely.
start taking them serious. I noticed this week with the Bucs game, the vast majority of national media types picked Tampa Bay to win, not by a lot, but picked them to win.
To be
And
fair, you and I did too.
the prevailing thought was that the Patriots were largely a product of their schedule. I think now, you've gone on the road. They went up to Buffalo and they won. And they've been taking care of business elsewhere. Then they went on the road to a team that was 6-2, went ahead in their division on the road, and they won again. I think now you have to start saying this team is legit.
Absolutely. Mike, Patriots now 7 wins in a row, and now they advance to 8-2. Unfortunately, the Falcons could get it done against the Colts, or the Patriots would be sitting atop the AFC. They're the 3 seed currently, still lead the division, though, after the Dolphins trounced the Bills in a big upset today, which certainly, thank you, Miami. First time I'm going to be thanking them. Last time I'll probably be thanking them. Mike, how are you doing, man? Give me your initial thoughts on the game.
Oh, first of all, I'm doing great. And second of all, Steve, I thought we were going to get a little scenes of an Italian restaurant from you, bud. Come on. Really. I mean, I've seen you tickle the ivories, man. It's definitely a thing that I think we all want to see. But no, bottom line, this New England Patriots team is in prime position right now to do something special. It's things that we've never seen, well, I shouldn't say never seen, but it feels like we've never seen them before. It's been so long. But things that this team hasn't done in quite some time, which is finish drives, finish games, have the confidence to be able to come back against a strong team on the road. We saw all that today at Raymond James Stadium, and the Patriots have been a great team as a result of that. So kudos to the 8-2 Pats, and the sky appears to be the limit in terms of where they can go from here.
Yeah, my initial thoughts on the game, look, there's a lot of positives to take away from the game. Couple negatives that I'll say. There was a couple ballsy plays. I thought the end of the first half was certainly a gutsy call by Vrabel, trying to wear the clock down and go ahead and punch it in. There was the 4th down call that I didn't love. That was, what was it? The Tampa Bay's like 45-ish. That was definitely, or like 40-ish. That was a little tough. There were some things I didn't love. The Drake May interception, pretty much the only play he couldn't make was the one he made. Unfortunately, kind of marred I wouldn't say marred, that's probably a little harsh. Kind of put a stain on otherwise a pretty solid day for Drake again. And the MVP chance, if you look at DraftKings right now, he's the leader in the clubhouse for the MVP. Not that it matters after 10 weeks, but he's still in that mix. And I think he's starting to get a lot of recognitions. But, look, guys, I mean, and Steve, I'll go to you. 4 big plays over 50 yards today, 1 over 70 yards, which was the Kyle Williams play. Beautiful dot by Drake May. Kyle Williams turned it upfield, hit almost 22 miles an hour, according to Next Gen Stats. 72 yards for him. Finally got him on the board. Travion Henderson with 2 big runs. Matt Collins with the deep pass. Another beautiful pass by Drake there. Unfortunately, that was right before that interception, on that same drive. But one thing I did like was the Patriots scored in every single quarter. They scored 7 points in the first, second, third, and fourth quarter. So they were consistently kind of scoring. I felt like they were the better team. There were some hiccups. I was frustrated with them running into Vita Vea in the middle a little bit more than I liked. And Steve, something that we talked about was that slow start again with the defense. It seems like it's every week. I do think that's a little bit of a concern. I understand there's a feeling out process, but I think that you're kind of, when you start dealing with teams that are more high powered, a little bit more consistent offensively, that's the kind of stuff that you don't want to be put in a hole early. But, going back to the preview show, Steve, you and I talked about, we both picked, I think, I think it was both 4-point predictions for in Tampa Bay's favor. We did think it was going to be a one-score game. It was that Patriots made more plays. Give me your thoughts on what I just said and anything else you want to add.
Well, yeah. Look, I thought they would have trouble with Tampa Bay's defense, and they did. I mean, it was a tough slog for them, but they were able to work through it. And like you said, 4 plays of over 50 yards, 6 explosive plays overall.
Yep.
They still are able to generate this type of explosion, which we haven't seen from the Patriots in a very, very long time. And it's nice to see that. And especially today with the young guys, right? We've been waiting to see something from Kyle Williams. He shows up huge today. Last play of the first quarter, he takes it 72 yards to the house. And you saw that speed. And, we've been waiting to see that from Travion Henderson.
Yep.
His first snap in the Patriots uniform in the preseason, he took it to the house on a kickoff return. So we know that's there for him. And then, he had that coming out of college. So, to see him be able to do that against a really good defense and a very good run defense, 2 big, huge runs, 55 and 69 yards. I mean, the speed was on display. Mm-hmm. It was so nice to be able to see that. And, they have weapons now. These guys are better than preseason prognosticators were giving them credit for. Mac Hollins, another big day with over 100 yards. Stephon Diggs, he had multiple contributions, which I really like. And after that atrocious start by the defense, where it seems like every week they have a busting coverage that results in a touchdown. They settled in and played extremely well, after that. And they made a couple of great stops. And again, if you look at what Tampa's been doing all season long, that's Baker Mayfield. He's been able to generate so many fourth quarter comeback wins, and the Patriots today were able to stymie that. So I think that's a huge, huge win for the Patriots defense. Overall, I thought, they gutted it out. They played real well. I mean, if that's Drake May's worst game he's going to have this year, I think they're in really good shape.
Yeah, I don't think it was his worst game. I just think that interception was just a bad decision, on his part. It's a learning curve. I get it, but you got to live to fight another day. We've said that with him before. Just thought, it was just tough to take that interception because that field goal just gave them a little cushion so that no matter what happened, whatever Tampa did on that back end, if they got a touchdown, they still had to get the 2 points, and even at that worst case, it would still be tied. So that would be it. But I agree with you. Hollins has been very, very solid for them. Pop shows up in pieces. The tight ends weren't really that involved today. Diggs had 5 catches, 46 yards. Nothing that really stood out, but that incredible catch in the end zone. Excellent toe tap. Great ball placement by May. And he just continues to fire up the team, show leadership, and kind of be there and come up with the big plays when you need them. I think that's impressive. But the one thing, Mike, that Steve alluded to that I want to bring up, and really, it's shown itself slowly throughout the year. But what we're seeing now with this team, Mike, is that the team actually has speed, a speed element, some dynamic ability. And I'm not just talking about, on the outside. I'm talking all over the field. And Drake's not afraid to go down the sidelines. He's not afraid to go over the middle. He's not afraid to take a hit. And he's letting guys get open. And there's a lot of plays after the catch. But, these aren't yards after catch where he's throwing like 5-yard dump offs. These are like 19, 20-yard passes down the field. And then they're going ahead and getting these. So you're getting these big chunk plays, and you're seeing that speed show up all over the field, Mike.
Oh, without question. And our friends over at ESPN's Next Gen Stats did a little numbers crunching for us in this game. Kyle Williams touchdown, 72 yards, down the sideline, 21.78 miles per hour on the run after his 3rd career catch. That's just his 3rd career catch in the NFL. this kid automatically showing that type of speed. That was a record setter until Travion Henderson got his hands on the ball and did it in 22.01 miles per hour on his scoring run. I don't care who you are, that is lightning, and that is dangerous for opposing offenses to know that the Patriots not only have one, but two potential game breakers when it comes to breakaway speed. This could be a very fun offense to watch for many years to come, assuming they keep Drake, Henderson, and Williams in the fold. After today, I don't see any one of these guys going anywhere anytime soon. The Patriots definitely have something here with speed. It's been a long time since we've associated fast playmaking receivers and running backs that have the ability to do what Travion Henderson does with the Patriots in quite some time. It's been a long time coming, and I think Pats fans were really happy to see that element added into their offense today.
I want to thank everyone again for listening to this episode of Patriots No Huddle, brought to you by PatsFans.com. Please do subscribe to us on our Pats Fans YouTube channel. Also, like, share, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It keeps us high in those podcast rankings so other Patriots fans can find us. Steve, let's talk about the defense. Slow start. They were able to kind of settle down. After that, I would say, the old, what was that, Staples or Office Max, the old easy button, commercial. That was basically the Bucs' first drive. After that, Emeka Egbuka walk-in touchdown. I want to say that Baker Mayfield was 1 for 6 after that. Following that, he really struggled. I thought that, Gonzalez was beat at times, Davis was beat at times, everyone was kind of beat at times, but when they needed to make the play, Steve, they were able to make the play. And the one thing I want to mention too is when a Buccaneer had their hands on a ball, you saw blue jerseys everywhere. The defense was swarming today.
Absolutely. And, I'll have to go back and rewatch the game, but it seemed like whenever the Bucs were in a must-have situation, the Patriots lined up in man coverage, and it seemed like the coverage was airtight. Where they got dinged, whereas when they started playing zone, and it seemed like they were finding the seams in the zone coverage. Patriots are a much better man coverage team, and
yep.
Egbuka, hey, he's a really talented kid, but he had 6 catches and they targeted him 13 times today. So I hats off to
the rookie,
yeah, well, and Christian Gonzalez as well. I mean, because when he was lined up in man coverage, I thought he had the better of the. I thought he got the better of Egbuka. But, again, after that horrible start, would they always seem to have a busted coverage? I thought the linebackers today, especially Robert Spillane and Jack Gibbons, outstanding game today. I think you can't say enough about those guys. And it was nice to see Christian Ponder come in. We've been talking about they need someone to step up and pass rush. Christian Ponder ended up with a sack today. And, I thought overall the defense, again, Baker Mayfield has made it a habit of coming back every single week in the fourth quarter. And this week they were able to stop him from doing that. I think it's a huge win for the Patriots defense.
Yeah, no, I thought up front they were killer. Spillane and Gibbons both had opportunities to pick the ball off. They didn't, aside from those missed opportunities, which again I'm kind of that's again a small blip on the radar compared to the game they had overall, Steve. But up front, Milton Williams, Barmore, they got some nice push in the middle. Kayvon Chasen got in the mix with another sack. I believe that extends his career high to 6.5, if I'm not mistaken. And again, Mike, you talk about this defensive front. They're really applying some pressure here. And another player who got in the mix again on offense, Khyiris Tonga, again, continues to put his fingerprints all over this team. There's no way they can let this guy go in the offseason. They need to make sure he stays around because he's a baller and he's making an impact.
Oh, yeah. If he wants to be here, I think he's making the case for as long as he wants to stick around. he'll be in a Patriots uniform. A big body that can move guys around. He's tremendous on defense. One of the big reasons why that run defense is as potent as it is. And then you move him on to offense and you see him be able to align in these jumbo packages and give this team an opportunity to get some big bodies up front so they can protect the passer and protect and block for the run. He's been tremendous. Kairos Tonga has been excellent in everything that the Patriots hoped he would be and so much more. I almost feel like he was under advertised coming into this season, and he's just been tremendous for this club. No matter what they've asked him to do, he's done it, and he's done it at a high level. So, he's well on his way to being someone that this team will re-sign, and I do assume that they'll work quickly to try to get that done. He means that much to this defense.
That one immediately rep where it was a key third down for the Bucs, and he crashed the middle. We talked about Vita Vea. I mean, that was Vita Vea-esque right there. I mean, the center ended up at Baker's feet because Tonga just drove him back like 5 yards and flat on his back. I when I saw that, I was like, oh my goodness, that was some incredible stuff there. Talk about power.
Quig writes in, what's up, bud? Thanks for chiming in as always. He says, calling it now, Tonga will eventually score an offensive TD this year. I actually was about to say something kind of similar to this, Quig, and I'll say it right now to Steve and Mike. I'm waiting for the goal line 2-yard situation where they're knocking at the door and they have Tonga lined up, and I'm calling, a play action fake boot with Drake running the opposite way, just kind of rolling out and walking right into the end zone, because it's going to happen. Because every single time, Romo said it on the broadcast in real time, he's like, every single time he's on the field, they run it. It's coming. I know it's coming. It's going to happen at some point. I can feel it. Mike, next thoughts on the game. Where do you want to go? There's a couple different directions we could go. Anything that stood out to you that you wanted to touch on?
Well, just kind of taking a little bit off of Steve's page and your page when you talk about the defense and coming up big. I don't think the drive where the Patriots were able to hold the Buccaneers and force, a turnover on downs at the end of the game may necessarily get enough national press. Everybody's going to gravitate toward Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, and their dynamic plays, and they deserve a ton of the credit. But that game does not end the way it does without Christian Gonzalez, tight coverage at the end, Craig Wilson coming in, getting the hit. That allows all of a sudden this incompletion now to happen. It was originally intended for Cade Otton, who was having a great game, by the way. He was more than capable of taking that ball without the hit coming in. All of a sudden, the complexity of that game could have completely changed. Patriots 4th and 3. K'Lavon Chaisson comes in. He starts it off. Milton Williams, Jalen Hawkins, they all get in on the act, force Baker Mayfield to the ground, and all of a sudden the Patriots are in business and they can control their own fate. These are the types of things we did not see from the Patriots the last few years. It's a willingness to completely keep going, never take your foot off the accelerator, never take anything for granted, and always believe that you have an opportunity to win the game. This is a game I don't think the Patriots of the past few years would have won. But this iteration of New England Patriots did win it because they won it with heart, they won it with force, and they won it with optimal play. They're well prepared out there as well. They're not winning all of these games just with heart. They're winning it because they are the better prepared team. And you got to give a lot of credit to Mike Vrabel and the staff for having these guys ready.
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to you in a second here, Mike. But, look, they're 8-2, and they've now, they now have as many wins this season as they did the last 2 years. And to your point, they wouldn't have won this game without the playmakers that they've had, without the quarterback play that they've had, without the leadership that they've had. And Mike Vrabel's fingerprints are all over this team. I did not expect Mike Vrabel to have the team where they are this early. And I think some of that is to Drake May. And I don't think they would be in this position without Drake May, but I think Vrabel plays a big part in it. Obviously, the team is better. But what do you? I mean, is there anything, Mike, aside from quarterback play, overall roster talent, and coaching that you would point to? Because to me, those are the three big ones. Just from the last few years. But ultimately, this team, Mike, just has more composure and more, mental and physical toughness than they've had the last couple of years. And that's why they're able to come out with the win. And this was not an easy spot for the Patriots to win. It would have been. That's why there was a lot of national people picking against them. I think there's been a lot of national love for Drake May and the Patriots overall, and even some local love, in Boston, which is rare to say the least.
True.
But I do think. This was a hard game for them to, for them to win, and I thought they would come up short. Steve, I'm not trying to call out Steve and I, but I want to be fair and transparent. You're not going to get them all right. I'm happy to be wrong. Doesn't happen often. Okay. Hopefully my wife doesn't hear that. But doesn't happen often. But happy to be wrong.
I think the one thing I think we're overlooking, and the one thing I was concerned about, was the play of the offensive line.
Yep.
We know Tampa Bay likes all these exotic looks. They disguise their blitzes as well as anybody, and they love to blitz. In their previous 3 games, they had garnered 15 sacks.
And the Patriots had allowed 12 in the last 2.
And the offensive line, they gave up 1 sack, and that was for 1 yard. And honestly, I thought they misspotted the ball. I thought he'd get back to the line of scrimmage, but you can call it whatever you want. But, the offensive line today really stepped up, because they do get after the quarterback. And today, I thought they did a fantastic job of protecting Drake May. That secondary of theirs is really good. So his completion percentage wasn't as high as we've seen it, and the last month or so, a month and a half. But overall, they did a fantastic job of giving him a pocket where he could step up and make the throws. And, only giving up 1 sack today, I thought was enormous for this offensive line. Kudos to them. I thought they did a great job. And, hey, they ran for 166 yards, which nobody saw coming.
Right. I mean, there's a lot of stats that were similar, Mike. Passing yards for the Patriots, 269, Bucks 258. The Bucks had 24 first downs. The Patriots only had 16. Bucks had 2 sacks allowed. The Patriots only had 1 sack allowed. 6 punts for the Bucks, 5 punts for the Patriots. Penalties were 6 and 40 for the Bucks, 5 and 49 for the Patriots. Aside from the first downs, third downs, 5 of 14 for New England, 5 of 13 for the Bucks. Really, the biggest separation was 2 for 3 on 4th down for the Patriots and 0 for 1 for the Bucks. That's a big one. And ultimately, the Patriots were able to punch it in for those touchdowns instead of settling for those points. And sometimes football math just wins, and they were just able to make the critical plays when they needed to the most, Mike.
Right on the money. You're absolutely right. And this gets back to your former point. What are the Patriots doing differently this year besides just quarterback play and besides being well coached? It's the intangibles. They're converting on 3rd down. Like Steve said, this offensive line is much better equipped to be able to defend and protect the quarterback. I wrote about this a little bit yesterday for SI in my 5 players to watch, or my 5 storylines to watch in this game. And that was, what are you going to do about Vita Vea? I mean, this guy is absolutely a game wrecker, especially when he aligns over the left guard and sometimes over the center. Bradbury came into this matchup a little banged up. Was that going to be a problem? We know that Vea loves to lurk in the shadows. He loves to, shadow in the back in the A-gaps. The Patriots were prepared for that. That's something you didn't see 2 or 3 years ago. And in my estimation, yeah, you give a lot of credit to the coaching staff for having them ready, but the players are coming out and they're playing at a high level. They're not beating themselves with penalties. They're not beating themselves with turnovers. They're protecting the football much better than they did to start the season, and certainly a lot better than they did last year. So it's the little things, the intangibles that the Patriots are executing this year that they didn't do last year that are adding to wins on the field and in the scoreboard. And that, to me, is where this team has really grown by leaps and bounds. They're really executing the fundamentals once again. And in the broadcast today, you heard Jim
I knew
Nantz, Tony Romo. They were talking about the intangibles. They were talking about accountability and Mike Vrabel bringing back accountability. That I think is exactly what this team has that they haven't had in years past. They're all taking accountability for their mistakes. They're spending time in practice to correct them. And when they go out on the field, they're not making repetitive mistakes week after week after week. That's something that was so frustrating about this Patriots team the last few years here in New England. You don't see that anymore. And no, I'm not going to bring up the not suitable for work comment that Tony Romo made.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's aware of what he said.
I'm not sure, but all the people know DTF is not what
Oh,
he
yeah.
said for defense, technique, and fundamentals. I'm sitting here being like, oh no, Tony, oh don't turn into a Mark Sanchez situation, my friend. I was like, I actually thought he was pretty good on the call today, and I'm usually pretty critical of him, but I thought he was decent on the call. It's too bad we didn't have
Well,
Brady on
and
the call.
the one thing he kept bringing up all game long was look at all the blue jerseys around the football. He
Yep.
must have said that about 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I
And
noticed
that's a Mike Vrabel. I mean, that's a Vrabel philosophy that they've embraced. This team has embraced, and there always is all those blue jerseys around the football, and that's when good things happen. So
I mean, they're 5-0 on the road right now, Steve.
Yeah, defense travels. And 5-0. I mean, if they can get over this hump where they look absolutely Civ-like on the first drive of every game, I mean, this is a really good defense.
Do you think, Steve? Do you think that comes from like almost like a Bill Belichick style, like philosophy where you kind of like for the first drive or two, you're kind of like feeling out the other team, seeing what their script is, seeing what they kind of want to do, and then you kind of make the adjustment and then kind of click and close there? Like, what do you think
I don't
that
know.
is?
I mean, because it seems like every week they're just getting gashed horribly, and then there's always a bust, right? A bust in coverage that ends up with a touchdown for the other team, and then after that they're like, "Hey, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Let's turn let's turn it up a notch." And I mean, that could very well end up costing him when they play some of the better teams in the league. You can't get away with that against the top teams. But I thought they had, after last week, right? It seemed like in the Falcons game they had worked through that, but it was back to this week. But in the long run, this defense is playing really, really solid. And now that Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, Marcus Jones, they can play, I think, much more man coverage than they have been. They just don't seem like a very good zone team to me. And, and I know there's reasons for that, but at the same time, it really helps them when they line up and just man up on opponents, which they did today several times. And I thought the coverage was outstanding, even on some of the ones that the Bucs converted. Somebody was right there. So I was really impressed overall with the defense today. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you, and Mike, something that Steve just said, I want to pick on. You look at Carlton Davis, for example. That's not a zone. That's not a zone corner. He's a
Right.
man boundary corner. Gonzalez, you can pretty much have him do anything, but I think it kind of cuts him off at the knees a little bit to have him play zone. Like, he's so good, you want to just have him match up. Like, I would have liked to see him just on Ibuka like all day long, and just wherever he goes, just eliminate him. Kind of figure it out. And Marcus Jones, I think you have to pick who you're going to line him up with. You don't want him on Drake London, like last week,
Right.
but someone like Tez Johnson, someone like that, where Marcus can kind of be in the slot and kind of use his speed and trail him a little bit. I mean, that's what he did so well at Houston. He kind of trails guys, and then he's able to kind of hit that extra gear, and that's where he was getting his PBUs and his interceptions, and that's where I think you're getting the strength. So in the secondary, to me, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense for them to play zone, Mike. I think that they really do need to go to man more often than not. I get that you can't do man all the time, and there are certain situations for it, but I thought that there was way too much zone early in this game, and it really hurt them and allowed Tampa Bay to kind of get a little traction when I thought the Patriots had an opportunity to really take some leverage early.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned it. Gonzalez is at his best, really, in any situation that you need to put him in. He's more than capable, but I love his capabilities in man, and I think that's where he really shines. Carlton Davis is a product of man coverage. That is a boundary corner. That is a guy that is ready and willing to make those types of physical cuts, hits, breakups, things that need to be done. He's the guy that you're going to send in to do that. And Marcus Jones is at his best when he's sticky. That's when he provides his best coverage. That's really how he makes his bones, so to speak, his speed and his ability to stay in lockstep with his opponent. So in that regard, yeah, I do agree. I think this team is much better going to man. I think they struggle a lot in zone. Be sparing when you're going to use it, but when you do utilize it, you have to make sure that the right personnel is in the right position to make plays. And I thought the safeties had a much better game today. I was really impressed by what I saw from Craig Woodson, from Jalen Hawkins. Having him back in the lineup is such a big boost for this team. Del Pettis, continues to chip in and give this team a little added boost. When that secondary is playing well, it complements their front seven, which is absolutely playing some of its best football I've seen. It really is. When you have complementary units on your defense all clicking on one cylinder, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And today, the Patriots did have their difficulties, but they rebounded and made plays when they needed to. So, yeah, long story short, yes, I do believe that they're better in man than zone, but there is a time and a place for it. And once they get the personnel aligned, Patriots can pretty much run the table at that moment.
Yeah, and I thought there was a couple of special teams penalties I would have liked to have back in this one. So that was a little frustrating. As good as look, I don't want to be. I probably sound a little bit more pessimistic than I really am. I'm really happy about where this team's at currently through 10 weeks. I'm just kind of picking a couple of small things, and I still think this team is legitimate. I do think, as Tony Romo said in the post game show, that this Patriots team is for real. I think that they are legitimate. At least, I don't know if they're Super Bowl contenders, but I definitely think they're going to make the playoffs at this point. And I don't think that's really going out on a limb. And as long as they take care of business, they should be able to be a formidable opponent for whoever they play in the postseason. But at the same time, I still don't know, Steve, if they're really able to overcome some of these stupid penalties, some of these issues with whether it's like the Drake May interception or some issues in communication on defense, which didn't really happen too much today. Issues with the offensive line, which again they were good today, but in the past couple of weeks they've been up and down. So I still think they need to clean that up if they really want to get to where they need to go. And injuries are a concern. We saw Terrell Jennings go out with a knee injury, Christian Barmore have a back injury. I don't think either one are super serious, but I guess we'll find out. They have to have that next man up mentality, Steve. But as we've talked about, the depth on this team is a big concern, and that's really the biggest issue that I'm worried about with them moving forward because they have had some pretty good injury luck to this point in the season.
Yep, and now they, today they had a multitude of minor injuries where guys were banged up but were able to come back. We'll see, what the practice looks like on a short week, coming up because they have a game on Thursday night. So
I would expect a lot of helmets and T-shirts.
The best they can, but overall, I mean, yeah, and that's probably a good thing, I think, for them. But we know their depth isn't the greatest. But, when they're playing their style of football, they can beat just about anybody. And it's all going to depend on, who's hot at the time. When the postseason rolls around, I can't see this team not winning now at least 12 football games. And, who would have thought at 12-5, or maybe even 13-4, may I dare say, that this team would be that going forward. But I mean, everything is right in front of them. And if they can stay healthy and take care of business, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think anything shy, Mike. I think anything shy right now of 11 wins would be almost like a disappointment at this point, which sounds crazy, but I think 11-13 right now is your thing. But you know what? If they're going to get there, Mike, this next game on Thursday, and we'll just do a quick preview of the game, and then we'll end it, and we'll talk about it later this week, and we'll preview the whole Jets game. But I don't see how this team doesn't get to 11. And if they're going to go ahead and get to where we want them to go, I think that you have to just focus on taking care of business on a short week against a division rival. Again, that gets them to 3-0 in the division and boost another conference win. And when you're jockeying for position for the higher, playoff seeds and trying to go ahead and keep punching down on Buffalo, who dropped one against the Dolphins, this is the game that they got to win on a short week. And, the Vrabel's been really tightening up, shorter practices, the last couple of weeks as the season's gone on, and they've been kind of going through it. And I think this week it's going to be even lighter, and it's going to be a lot about game plan and scheming, getting the guys' bodies ready to go so they can go ahead and take care of business, and then kind of have a little bit of a mini bye before they face the Bengals the following week.
Yeah, without question. And again, you're facing a divisional opponent. And I think we all fall into the category of overlooking an inferior divisional opponent. You definitely don't want to do that in this case. The New York Jets are reeling right now. They're a stripped down roster. It's very easy to sit and say, okay, well, on short rest, we're going to ride momentum in. We're going to roll over this team, and then we'll put all our focus on Cincinnati in another couple of weeks. But at this point, you cannot afford to take anything for granted. The Patriots have a unique opportunity here, like Steve said, to, dare you say, get to 13 wins. I don't think there's anybody that thought that was possible early on this season. Even the staunchest Patriots honk would have probably rolled their eyes and said, okay, 13, that's a little bit too much for this team. But they've played at such a high level that they've warranted that conversation now. Now they're in the driver's seat. They've taken control of the AFC East. They're in position right now to compete for that top spot in the conference. This is a game you have to win. And if it puts extra pressure on them, so be it. I think Mike Vrabel is going to utilize that pressure this week to make sure that his team stays focused on their next opponent, and that is the New York Jets on Thursday night. Patriots are going to be wearing the rivalries uniforms. It's going to be a fun night at Gillette. Everybody's going to be ready for this one. The Patriots have to come out and they have to take care of business.
Steve, I'm going to go for you for final thoughts. I'll share my final thoughts, and then Mike, you share your final thoughts, and then you can take us out. Okay, so Steve, final thoughts on the Buccaneers game and any kind of, I guess, early preview shot if you want to say anything about the Jets, but we'll touch on it later this week.
Yeah, look, I think you guys hit it right on the head. The NFL this year is anything can happen and frequently does. And look what happens when you look past an opponent. Look what happened to Buffalo today playing Miami, who's been a train wreck, The Bills came off a big emotional win over Kansas City last week, and then they laid an egg down in Miami today. So Patriots have to keep their focus, and I know Mike Vrabel is big on that, but I think being at home on a short week is an advantage, and I think they should be able to win this football game. They obviously turnovers and stuff will play a big role in that, but I look at this game and there's no reason why the Jets, who are basically tearing it down to the studs, right? They shouldn't beat them coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, for me, again, a solid win against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers, really good team. Baker's been dangerous at times with what he's been able to do. I know they're depleted, but you were still able to, I think, showcase some of your rookies, get some of those explosive plays, and overall, just a really good, solid team win. Again, 8-2, just tremendous. My last final thought before I toss it over to Mike is I want to give a shout out. Especially to our buddy Steve here and to all the veterans listening. Happy Veterans Day coming up. I love the salute to service, what the NFL does. I'm wearing my salute to service hoodie right now. So shout out to all those who've served. Thank you. We appreciate you. And yeah, God bless. Mike, over to you.
Absolutely. So well said, Derek. And we could not be more grateful or more appreciative of the service that you all provide. So thank all of you that have served this country with honor and dignity for the very freedom that you provide us each and every day. And of course, final thoughts, another final thought from this game. Just want to give a shout out to the New England Patriots for being the ultimate road dogs. They now have a 5-0 record on the road. This is the 7th time in franchise history the team has started with a 5-0 record, doing some great things here in New England, and hopefully they'll continue that momentum at home on Thursday night. We're going to preview that for you here this week, so make sure to like and subscribe to follow Patriots No Huddle wherever you get your podcasts to ensure you're getting this latest episode as soon as it's available. On behalf of my good friend, the great Derek Havens, my Patriots paisan, Steve Balistreri, I'm Mike Debate, reminding all of you to stay safe, stay well, be the change you wish to see in the world. Happy Victory Monday, everyone. Enjoy this one. Get ready for the quick turnaround, and we'll have all the action right here for you on Patriots No Huddle.